Okay, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. we provide you with various information on colleges and universities, financial aid resources, training programs, technical schools, skilled trade professions, employment opportunities, career exploration, and career readiness skills, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Tony Curitan, your host, and today we will be speaking with Ms. Rogers from Trio Education. Ms. Rogers, welcome, and give us an explanation about what Trio Education does.
Well, good afternoon. Trio Educational Opportunity Center. We are located at Wayne State University. We are not Wayne State recruiters. So if you all have heard of programs like Upward Bound, Student Support Services, we're under that umbrella. It's a number of different programs under the Trio umbrella. But the Educational Opportunity Center, our program works with students that are the adult learners. We will work with students that are 16, 17, and 18 years old if they are in a high school completion program or in a GED program. Other than that, our program is for adults 19 and over, and many of you who are getting ready to graduate, if you are not close to 18, 19, you will be soon. So in transitioning from graduating from high school or completing a GED program, what our program will do is we will assist you with college or trade programs, financial aid, college applications, fee waivers, and anything that has to do with post-secondary. So you'll hear us say post-secondary a lot, but when we say post-secondary, don't just think college. And I usually have to remind students about that. When we say post-secondary, we include it all. So we include community colleges, universities, that can be in the state of Michigan or outside of the state of Michigan. Some students may want to go away. That also include trade programs. So some students say, well, I prefer to go to a trade program. We can also assist with that too. We help you with completing the financial aid application, kind of understanding what you need for the application. Some students say, well, why is it even relevant for me to fill it out? We'll make sure you understand that. Once you complete that process and find out what you're eligible for, then we also want to educate you on what that means, because it doesn't just stop with you fill out the application, you get it all completed, and then it's over with. So there's some education and knowledge you need to have after, so you know what you're getting, why you're getting what you're getting, what is a loan versus a grant, what you'll have to pay back, what you don't have to pay back. So those are things that we'll work with you on, as well as filling out applications, or if it's a trade program where you don't have to fill out an application, we make sure we try to connect you with a person or an organization that you will have to link with in order to apply for that program. After you've graduated, now we can do all of that while you're still here in high school. I'm working virtually. They have not allowed us to go back. So we would set up a Zoom, or a lot of students now are doing Google Meet, whatever is comfortable for the student. And we'll kind of start working through that process. After you actually graduate and you need assistance, because every year you have to fill out that financial aid application once every year, you can then call and say, well, you know what, last year you helped me when I was in high school, and I'm not quite comfortable filling it out again. So can you help me again this year? I can help you with the application. Some students say they want to start something, but decide that wasn't for me. I think I want to switch. You may want to transfer, or you may want to, haven't really started the program, want to start another program, and you're out of high school now. So it's like, okay, where's Miss Tony? Where are my counselors? Where are my advisors? You can call us, make an appointment, and I can help you with that process. And we work with students that live in Wayne County up until you graduate from a program. We don't put a time limit on graduation. So we don't say, you said you were going to community college, so you have to finish in 2 years, and then we're not helping you anymore. A lot of because this is an adult program, adults have different situations and circumstances in their life. So a lot of times what we do is we may have to start and stop. Maybe we continue on, but it might take a little longer. Instead of 2 years, it might take us 3 years to get through a program. We may do it in a year and a half, but whatever is best for the person as an individual, we continue to work with you up until you have graduated with a bachelor's degree. So if that's not your goal to get a bachelor's degree and you do a trade school or an associate's, that's fine. If you decide, a lot of our students decide, oh, I really like that, I want to go back to school, and we keep continuing to assist you. It's a free program. You don't have to pay us for anything. Just make an appointment and we'll make sure that you have all of my contact information. Um, Anything else that I left out, Miss Tony?
Well, you pretty much covered everything, but uh, I want to reiterate to the students and staff that are listening. The main thing you do is actually go through the entire FAFSA process. So they're not left alone trying to figure out how to navigate this application. You're there to guide them step by step, one-on-one, however long it takes in order for that student to get that information in so that they can get funding for furthering their education. That's the main service, that one of the main services that you provide.
Yes, that is. And what happens is, so I'll tell you, we were trying to figure out how we would navigate it, because usually I come into the school and do a presentation, and then I come back and we do a sign up and we work with students that have it. If you don't have everything and you start, I come back, and we just keep doing that until usually about April, right when senior stuff gets real high and everybody's
Right,
excited. However,
right.
this time we've kind of put together a plan where um, we do a presentation to let you know. I talk to students about what you actually need, which I'll tell you today, what you need for the FAFSA, give you a chance to gather that. You can then set up an appointment with me. And doing the virtual appointments, a lot of the students, which I didn't think they would know how to do, but on my Google Meets, a lot of students will share the screen, because I'm usually just talking them through it. And they'll say, wait, I want to share my screen. And I was like, okay. So it made it so much easier. They share the screen. I can see what they're doing. And I'm just looking at the screen and saying, okay, this is what you put for this answer. We may have to ask a few personal questions. Okay, this is what you put for this answer. And we literally just go step by step through everything. And I watch you hit submit, and you submit it, and you get a confirmation immediately. So it's really easy. We thought it would be, with all of the changes, kind of scary, kind of tedious of how we would do it. I think the students did as well as the staff, but as we have begun to work together, it's such a seamless process. Just making sure you have everything you need, even with filling out the college applications or connecting you with the trades. But it's very important to make sure we do that financial aid application first. Because a lot of students say, well, I'm not going to college, I'm not going to trade school, I'm just going to get a job after. I'm not doing that. And a lot of times, once I talk to the student one-on-one, I find out the fear is that I don't have the money to, or my parents said I'm not taking out loans, or I don't want to take out loans. And so once you do that financial aid application, I've had students that were not going changed, and now they're going because they realize I do have money available for me. There's money available through the state of Michigan. There's money through the TIP program, possibly. There's money available through doing the financial aid, the FAFSA. There's maybe money available through other sources where I can afford to do a 2-year program, or I can afford to do a trade program and not have a lot of extensive loans.
Pretty much this year, I do believe the grant award is $6,300. And so
Mm-hmm,
the majority of our students will qualify for
mm-hmm,
some portion of that, if not all of it,
mm-hmm,
which really means that they can attend school through community college, through different technical programs, literally for free, because the grant money that they will receive will cover each semester's tuition,
mm-hmm,
especially if you go to community college. Now, if you're
mm-hmm,
going to university, that's a different animal because the tuition fees are a lot more higher. But if you're going to community college first, and I cannot stress enough that that is a very wise decision and a wise way to go, because your first 2 years are your liberal art years, which means they're your general study years. So Why pay university prices for general studies, liberal art courses that you can take at a community college at half the rate? And then by utilizing your FAFSA money, you're out of pocket almost nothing, pretty much. So your first 2 years, you really are saving immensely as opposed to going straight into the university. And even after you finish your first 2 years, you should do your final 2 years through your community colleges university center. All of them have partnerships with various universities around um, the state of Michigan that will allow you to attend through the community college campus at a discounted rate as opposing to going straight to Wayne State University or Central Michigan University. You get a discounted rate on those tuition credits. And I can't stress enough doing college debt free. I know I just went off the subject,
No, that's not,
but,
that's very close to
but
this subject. Yeah, that's important to know.
you have to begin with your FAFSA application. And even if you don't think you qualify, fill it out anyway. It doesn't hurt. You're not hurting anything by filling it out. And those are your beginning steps because uh, any scholarship that you want to apply for, especially through the state of Michigan, begins with your FAFSA application. You can't get or qualify for TIP or any of the other state um, grants, scholarships, unless that FAFSA is filled out. So if you don't mind, those of you that have not done any of these things, put your information, your name, your email, your contact information in the chat so that Ms. Rogers can contact you and schedule a one-on-one appointment with you so that we can get you going on this so that you can get started and have this funding ready and available because it is a first come, first serve situation. And you want to get as maximum of an award as you possibly can. Oh, good. We got some people typing.
So filling out the FAFSA, that's a very good point. You must fill it out. Well, a lot of students say, well, I may not qualify. It's okay. Even if you don't qualify, like Ms. Tony said, you may not qualify for a Pell Grant or very minimum amount. And you say, well, I think my parents may make too much money and so I won't qualify. But that is a gateway in order for you to get other scholarships and grants through the state of Michigan, even through the colleges. So if you're going to go to a community college and there's an application for a first-time freshman that's entering, and I tell you to look for those. And if we're going to apply for those applications, they will ask, do you qualify for a Pell Grant or have you completed the FAFSA? That's the first thing they ask. So a lot of times, in order to, even if you don't qualify or get very little for the Pell Grant, what will happen is just by completing that application, it will open you up to other scholarships and grants. Now, some other scholarships and grants you can't even apply for. You don't apply for them. You just complete the FAFSA. Once you complete the FAFSA and they look at and see what you qualify for, and they look at your EFC, which is the expected family contribution. That's a number that they give you. Once the school looks at all of that, you may get a letter that say, well, hey, you get the President's Scholarship or you get the new student scholarship. And you'll say, I didn't apply for that. I've had students call me and say, hey, Ms. Rogers, did we apply for this? And I said, no, we didn't apply for that. You got that just based on completing the FAFSA, and you qualify for it, and you completed it by the deadline. So usually March 1st or somewhere around March. And I don't know the exact date in March because they may have changed it because they've been extending things because of COVID, but usually March 1st is when they want all of the FAFSA information in. Now you ask, can I complete it after March 1st? Yes, you may complete it after March 1st, but you get the maximum benefits by completing it before or right at March 1st. That's the first come, first serve. You could get a full Pell Grant after. If you fill it out in June and you know you want to go to school in August, well, you wait all the way to the end of the school year. You can still get a full Pell Grant if the money is available and if you qualify for it. However, any additional funds like the extra scholarships at the school and things like that, you won't qualify for those because those have deadlines because each school has a budget. And so they set aside that money for a budget, like work study is set aside for people that complete their financial aid by the deadline. So if they complete it by the deadline, if you qualify for work study, you may be given work study, which is additional money. You can work on the campus that you're going to school at and make pocket money. It goes to you. It does not go on your account. And we'll talk about that a little more later, but you may qualify for that. Now, after that March deadline, and you put your information in and you get a full Pell Grant, you still may not get work study because they've already issued it out according to their budget for the students that will attend their school. So that's why everything is time sensitive. And you may hear something different. You'll hear friends or family say, oh, I fill mine out later. I mean, you can, but you just may lose out on some things. So just keep that in mind. That's why we kind of pressure and say, well, come on, let's get it in. Let's just get it done before that March time so you can get everything due you.
Ms. Rogers, would you explain what is necessary in order for them to start their application for the FAFSA?
Yes. So what you need to complete your application for the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, you need your social security number, all 9 digits. So students say, well, do I have to put just the 4? Nope, you have to put all of the digits in. So you need all 9. So make sure you have your full social security number. It's so very important that you see your card. I don't have to see your card. If you're working with me and I'm assisting you, I don't need to see your card. I don't need to have a copy of your card. That's your private information. I just need you to verify that number because once you put in the wrong number, it's a lot of work to get that corrected. That number identifies you. So make sure you know your social security number and you're sure that number is correct. All the other personal information that you will need to put in the financial aid about yourself, just like a job application, your name, your address. They'll ask for gender. Are you married? Most of you will say no. Do you have children? So they'll just ask, did you work last year? So it's just like completing a job application. If you have your social number and it's correct, that's usually the start and it's pretty good. Okay. Now, as far as your work history, we'll ask about your work history. They'll ask if you worked the previous year. When we do your financial aid for this year, they're going to ask for 2019 income. So they won't ask for 2020 income. They'll ask for 2019 income. So if you did have a job in 2019, that will be from January 1st to December 31st of 2019. I want you to write down 2 things for me. The name of the place you worked. If you worked several places, just choose one. You don't have to do all of them. Just write down the name of the place you worked and what your income was total for that year. If you had several jobs, we'll add them all up. Say I worked here for 3 months and I worked here for 5 months, then I didn't work anymore. That's fine. We'll add that up because all they want is the total amount that you gained from that year. If you worked a summer job, like if you did the summer youth employment, then you just have to let me know that because we automatically put down $1,000 because with the GDYT, you're only going to get between $900 and $1,000 for that year. So that's the easy one. You say, well, I only worked a summer job. If you did not work at all, then we just put down 0. Don't panic. A lot of people will panic and say, well, I didn't have a job. Is that going to affect me? I didn't work. You were a student. So when it says, what was your adjusted gross income for 2019 for you as a student? If you did not work, we just put 0. It's not going to hurt you. It's not a bad thing. But if you did work, I just need you to gather that information, because that's where we get stuck with the students on the financial aid. We will ask, well, what was your income? Well, I don't know. Or I worked several jobs, or I worked a couple jobs. I don't remember. So start to gather that thing. Start to gather that now, okay, for yourself. So your social security number and your income information for 2019, okay? So that's what you need. Now, if you are between the ages of, I'll say 16, 17, 18, just because we do have some 16-year-olds that graduate, 16, 17, 18, okay? So I'm not leaving that group out. But what the federal government will say, anyone between the ages of 18 and 23 years old. If you are between the ages of 18 and 23 years old, remember 16 and 17 is included in there also. If you're in that age bracket, you are automatically considered a dependent. What is a dependent? A dependent means they expect that you are dependent on your parents, your parent or guardian. They expect that you are dependent on your parents to take care of you. So they will ask you for the following things. They will ask you for how many parents are in your household. Is it one parent in the household? Is it two parents in the household? If you say one parent in the household, then they're going to ask you for that parent's social security number, date of birth, and I didn't just say birthday, I said date of birth because you have to have the year. A lot of times students know the month and the day, but not the year. We need the year. Social security number, the date of birth, including the year, and it will ask how many people are your parents responsible for in the household. So you may say, there are 5 people in my household. There is, and I actually asked you to count them out. And students will say, kind of look at me strange, like, well, why am I counting this out? I know how many people in my house. I know, but we need to count them out just to make sure you're not adding too many people or not adding enough. So if you tell me 5 people, let's do an example. 5 people are in your house. You just said you had one parent in the house. So mom's in the house, you're in the house. That's 2 people. You told me 5. So I'm going to ask, who are the other 3? You may say, my little brother, my aunt, and her son. I'm automatically going to tell you that you only have 3 people in the household. Your mother will be legally responsible for you, your little brother, and herself. Unless she has guardianship over your aunt and her child, we won't include them. So something as simple as that. That's why I asked you to count it out for me. You may say, there's 3 people in the house. There's me, my dad, and my grandma. Unless dad has legal guardianship or responsibility for grandma, we don't count grandma. It'll just be you and dad. So that's why I asked you to count it out for me so that I will know, can help you guide through who you should put on your FAFSA and who you shouldn't put on there. If you say 2 parents in the household, then they're going to ask you for 2 parents, yourself, and the same thing. How many people are in the household? And we count that out. If there's 2 parents, students will ask, which parent do I use? You must use both. They're going to ask you, are your parents married? It'll say never married, married or remarried, because they put them in groups. So the second, like married or remarried, separated or divorced, widowed. And you must answer one of those questions. If you say married, then they want to know the month and the year your parents got married. You have to provide both parents' social security number, both parents' birth date, and both parents' source of income for 2019. Now for that, I ask you to get a copy. A copy would be a copy of your tax form. So if your parent or parents, one or two in the home, have filed taxes, then you would get a copy of their 1040 tax form from 2019. If you say my parents did not file taxes, then I would need you to just kind of give me an estimate of what your parents earned in 2019. And that's something you would ask them. If you say my parents didn't work, they received Social Security or disability or retirement, that's okay. They should have an end of the year statement that says this is what they received from Social Security, disability, or this is what they received the end of the year for retirement. So that's the prep work that you'll do. You'll ask your parents for that. If you say my parent didn't work at all or my parents didn't work at all, that's fine. Then guess what? We'll just put 0 like we did if you said you didn't work. It won't hurt you. It's okay. We just put 0 down and we'll proceed moving forward. So basically, and I gave that slow kind of in detail. You need your Social Security number. You need your parent, or if it's 2 parents, your parents' Social Security number, birth date for you and your parents, and the source of income. You can tell me your source of income. And I'll have like a form that you just electronically fill out and you'll submit it to me to say I had 0 income, or I had $1,000 income for the year, or I had $200 income for the year. And then for your parents, gather a form if you can to show what their source of income was for 2019. Don't stress about it. A lot of students don't stress about it. You can email me and say, well, I'm not sure what this form, is this form okay? Does this form is what they need? You know, you can ask those questions. Don't get frustrated, because that part can really frustrate students. Okay, so I just told you about dependents. The federal government says anyone 18 to 23 will be considered a dependent automatically, whether you are or not. Automatically, that's how they're going to classify you, and that's what they're going to ask you for. Now, if you say, well, I don't rely on my parents to take care of me, or I don't feel like I'm a dependent, then I will ask you a series of questions, pretty much the same questions that will be on the financial aid. I'm not giving them to you in order, but as they come to my mind. So they will ask you, are you married? Because if you're married, then you will be considered independent. They will ask you, do you have children? If you are a female, I will ask you, and that's why we meet one-on-one privately, I will ask you, are you pregnant and expecting during the academic year? Because if you are, you'll be considered independent. If you already have a child or children, you're considered independent. That independent means you don't need anything from your parents. You only fill the FAFSA out with your information. So you could be 17 and independent, or you could be 22 and independent. But we would have to go through a series of questions. So they want to know, are you married? Do you have children? Have you had a legal guardian in the state of Michigan? Because you're currently in the state of Michigan. So according to your state, have you had a legal guardian? A lot of students will answer yes to that. That's not correct. We have to talk through that. A legal guardian makes sense to say would be my mom or my dad or my mom and dad. That's who I live with. But a legal guardian will be someone else. So if I was your aunt and I went to court with your parents, something happened, and I got legal guardianship of you, then I would be considered your legal guardian because I'm not your biological parent. Might be a grandparent, could be a cousin, but if you have now currently or have had a legal guardian, because most of the time guardianship ends when you're 18 through the court. So if you're 18 and legal guardianship is over, you'll say, well, no, I don't have a legal guardian because I'm 18 or I'm 19. If you had one when you were 13, 14, 15, 16, we still use that because you did have one through the state. So we can say, yes, you did have a legal guardian, someone other than your parent or step parent that took care of you. And you may not have the court papers right now, but it was documented in court. You will be considered independent. So are you single or married? They want to know, do you have children? Have you had, or do you currently have a legal guardian? So say you answer no to all of those. Then they'll ask, have you ever been in foster care? They'll ask, I think that's it. They'll ask about foster care. They'll ask about adoption, but that's iffy because if you were adopted after a certain age and so we have to look into that. So I don't talk about that a lot because you can say yes, adopted, but then the next page they'll ask you when you're adopted. And if you were adopted, like when you were smaller, you won't qualify, as far as being independent. So I usually just kind of leave the adoption part alone, but it will ask that question. So once it goes through all of those, just say you just answered all of these questions and you said no to everything. The very last question it will ask you, are you homeless, at risk of being homeless, or self-supporting? And that's just how they ask. They put it all in one line. That's a lot to digest. So we usually break that down. You can be not with your biological parents. I had a student that was 20 on his own, had been on his own since he was 16, had a job making good money, came back to an adult program because his job said, okay, you need to get your high school completion or GED. He was considered independent. He hadn't been with his parents and he had been self-supporting, and he could prove that. We've had students that were homeless or at risk of being homeless. That does not mean that you live out on the street, that you don't have anywhere to go. A lot of students are not with their parents for various reasons, but they live with grandma or they're with a cousin, or the term that the federal government will use is couch surfing. Or you may be staying with a significant other, a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Then when their parents say, okay, I'm tired of you being here, you go back to your cousin's house, and then you may stay over at a good friend's house. And so you don't really have a permanent address, but you do have a shelter where you have food and you're not without. That's kind of the homeless at risk of being homeless. A lot of students think when you say homeless or at risk of being homeless, I have to be in a shelter, I have to be on the street. That's not true. Even though we have students that may live in a shelter, but that's not. So that's why we talk about all of that. We kind of talk through it. If you answer out of the questions I just asked, if you answer yes to just one of those, you are considered independent. And independent means I don't need any information from my parents. I fill out my FAFSA totally with my information only. Last one I forgot. I was trying to think, is ward of the court. You may not be ward of the court now, but you may have been at one time. If you say got in some trouble and had to go stay at Don Bosco's for a while, and you were living there and doing a corrective action plan, getting some things together, and then you were allowed to go back home to your parents, or maybe some things were going on at home out of your control, you had to go there for a while. Usually when you're there, I've had students tell me, oh yeah, they said that I should get a Pell Grant, based on my status and having to be here. And that's true. So if you were ever ward of the court, those are things that students sometimes don't want to talk about, but it's important that that's why we do a one-on-one. We talk through these things because we, not being nosy, want to make sure that you get everything that you deserve. So we talk through that. And if you say, yes, I've been ward of the court, then we check that off on there. You don't have to show me papers and prove it, just be honest. And then that will help you to be independent, which means you only use your personal information, your social security number, your birth date, your income, whether you had income or don't have income. That's all you use for the financial aid. Ms. Tony, do we have any questions?
We have questions for your contact information, yes.
Okay. So I'll make sure before the end I get you the contact information. That seems like a lot, but I tell students the financial aid application is really easy. It's really simple. And once they start doing it, it will take us about 15, 20 minutes if you have everything. And Miss Tony has a PowerPoint. You posted the PowerPoint, right, Miss Tony?
Yes.
If you all go back to your school
And
sites, check out that
go to
PowerPoint.
our YouTube channel, and it is called Financial Aid 101 with Trio Education. And go through that PowerPoint, and it will give you the step-by-steps on how to fill out your FAFSA application. It'll
Yes, and
tell
I
you
have
everything you need.
there's a page on there that has pictures actually, so you'll see exactly what you need to have in case you say, well, I don't know what a Social Security statement looks like or what a tax, I haven't had to look at a tax form. I don't know what it looks like. You have examples of what those forms look like. So just go through that, gather that information, email me questions if you need to clarify what it is you need. Once you get your packet of information together, you set up an appointment and say, hey, Ms. Rogers, I'm emailing you because I have everything I need in a folder for financial aid. I'm ready to do it. And then we just go through. And like I said, it takes, if we have no technical difficulties, let's mark off technical difficulties. The Wi-Fi is running smooth and there's no problems with the FAFSA site, because we have had some issues with the site because a lot more people being homebound are working on it at the same time. So sometimes we don't always get through. But if we don't have any of those issues, it takes honestly about 15 minutes and we can get right through it. It's really easy. It's just a lot of detailed information that students get tired of. And a lot of the information is repeat. And some students will pick up and say, they just asked me that. Yep. And we have to answer it again. They just asked it a different way. So we just go through and we just answer each question. You hit submit. Once you hit submit, then it tells you immediately, a page pops up and you know right then what you qualify for. And I'm able to explain to you, this is what you qualify for. Okay. The other first step in doing the FAFSA application is to have a FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID. It's like a one-page application. You can go on ahead of time and and that is also on the PowerPoint, the link. You will go on ahead of time. You will complete the FAFSA username and password application. You create your own username. I always suggest students, please just do your first and last name or first initial last name, all in lowercase, because it's going to revert to lowercase anyway. It's not case sensitive, so don't worry about that. So I will put, just for my memory, because there's so many passwords, I will put M. Rogers, and that's good. Now, when you create your password, you cannot use your first or last name, any of the digits of your Social Security number, that combination, your birth date. They wanted something different. 8 characters, and now that's case sensitive, a uppercase, a lowercase, at least 8 characters, do a special character in there and you're good. That's all. Just make sure you remember it. I tell students, take a picture of it, write it down, because it's very important to remember that. Once you put in the application and you submit the FAFSA username and password, it takes 1 to 3 days to verify. So if you're going to do it ahead of time, you need to do it 1 to 3 days prior to meeting with me, or we wouldn't be able to use it. What do you use it for? That is how you log in and out of your financial aid application. That is how you electronically sign your financial aid application. If you are an independent student, you do one for yourself. If you are a dependent student, you will need one for yourself and one for your parent that's going to sign. If there's 2 parents in the household, you only do it for one parent, because you only need one parent to sign. You don't need both parents to sign. So you need one and a parent needs one. Ask your parents now, do you have a FAFSA username and password? Ask them that, to think about it. Some parents have one because they attempted to go to school, they completed school, they attempted to do one for a sibling, and whatever your username, your parents' username and password is. So say my username and password for my FAFSA that I created, if I go to school, I use that for my financial aid application. I use it for that same username and password for my daughter who's in college now, her financial aid application. I have a son in college. I use that same one for his application. And I have one getting ready to go. So this one is getting ready to go. You don't get a new one for each child, a new one for yourself. The one I use to fill out mine will be the same one I use. So if a sibling has done this before, or if a parent has gone to school before, and even if they didn't complete school and they say, oh, I didn't complete school, that's not, you still have it. They still have it. It's attached to their social number. So we just need to get that reset if they haven't used it in a while. So you wouldn't have to create a new one for them. Okay. And then it's easy. Once you have that, we just log in. Now, you do not have to do your FAFSA, your FSA username and password ahead of time. If you do, it would kind of speed up things, maybe take 5 or 10 minutes off. But if you do not do it ahead of time, don't be discouraged from setting up a meeting, because we can go through and do your financial aid application. When we get to the part where it says signature, where you have to sign, I'll say, do you have a FAFSA ID and password? And you say, no, I didn't create that. Okay, we stop right there. It gives us an option. We click it, you create it, sign a financial aid, and submit it. So you can do it on the front end, or you can do it right in the midst of your application. Either way is fine. Don't stress out. Some students, well, I didn't finish mine, I can't. We can still work with it. It's okay.
So I want to ask everybody that's in attendance, do you have any questions for Ms. Rogers at this point? And I want to make sure to say that if you haven't already put your contact information in the chat, please do so, so that we can make sure that Ms. Rogers sends you and contacts you with the FAFSA information. No questions? Ms. Rogers has put her contact information in the chat, so everybody that wanted to obtain that information can write it down and reach out to her so that she can help you fill out your applications and get this in. I promise you, I cannot stress enough the importance of you doing this, because because of the changing, everything is changing. Right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. And you don't know how long these funds are going to be made available. They may decide, because of the pandemic, that funding has to be utilized for something else, and they cut it. So fill your application out. Get your award documented so that you can be ready when you go to school in the fall, or if you graduate early in the winter. Again, everything begins with your financial aid application. Everything begins with that. Everyone wants to know that you are applying for funding from, whether it's scholarship, tip, no matter what it is. They want to know, did you fill out the financial aid application? And if not, why? Because you've got an award of $6,300 available to apply towards your education.
And they give that to you for the academic year. They talk in terms of academic year. So say $6,300, and they'll give that to you. You'll see it all. It goes right to the school or the program that you choose to go to. But keep in mind, they're going to divide that in half. So you'll get half of that money for that first semester, which will be August to December. And then we have that Christmas winter break. Then the other half, the other 3,000 some change, will be from January to May. So that's how the money will go. So they give you that money and you divide it up. But that's quite a bit of money to help with paying for tuition, especially at a community college. A lot of students, tuition and your books are usually covered out of that. Now, if had a thought, now is a great time to start doing this, because once you get in, like Ms. Tony said, if something happens, they start allocating funds, well, you've done yours, and people that are in, you've already completed that part. There are so many programs, so many opportunities and scholarships and things that they're making available. I know even, just right here in the state of Michigan, because of the pandemic, they have things for first responders. So people that first responders or essential workers, if you had to work, I think it's so many weeks out of during the pandemic time.
It's 11 weeks during the months of March through June. If you were a frontline worker, you would be entitled to receive grant money that would allow you to either get your high school diploma or GED if you don't have it, or get your associate's degree if you don't have it. Excellent opportunity. But again, that begins with the FAFSA application, because you've got those that apply for that grant, they still have to fill that out.
And you don't pay anything. When she said get, you're going to get it. They're going to cover it. They're going to cover that. So that's a good thing for you all that are completing school now. That's a good thing for when we talk. I may ask you about that, because that's something the governor has put in place for Michigan. I want to share it with you so you can share it with your family members. Mom may need it. Dad may need it. You may know some older cousins. You may have an aunt or uncle that have been thinking about going back to school, not sure, and they had to work during those times. They can apply for that program, and the deadline is December 31st. So there's so many opportunities and programs that are out there right now, and we just ask students to sign up, take advantage of these things. And you may have one or two students that say, well, I'm not going to school. School's not for everybody. I don't even know if I want to do a trade. I don't want to do any of this. I've had it in the past. I'm just not doing it. And they hem and haw and fuss. And why do I have to do this? And I tell them it's practice. Some schools make it mandatory. You can't graduate without it. They handed me a checklist when I would walk in the door and say, this is a senior checklist. And on the senior checklist is to meet with TRIO, fill out their intake, complete your FAFSA, complete at least one community college application, and see if you qualify for TIP. And once we did that, I initialed it, and that was part of their checklist that was off, whether they were going or not. But I asked the students to do it because a lot of times what we're thinking right now and our emotional state we're in, and you may just be sick of school, and how you're feeling right now does not mean you'll feel that way later. So we get to the end and students want to scurry and try to do it, and we may or may not have time. Or you may go, I've had students go all the way through the summer and maybe July, beginning of August. Hey, remember we met? Yep, we did. I changed my mind. I want to do that. Where I can say, oh, it's already done. Remember you did that? So now I just have to show you what we need to do so you have the right information. We have to go through that process and start at the beginning. And sometimes it's not enough time to get into a program the third week of August. So tell students, have it. Just because you have it, you can say no thank you. You don't have to use the money. They think if I apply for it, then I'm stuck with that. No, you're not. You can say no thank you. You don't have to use it, but it's important to have it done. And a number of students also have worked through this process with our program and worked with their high school through this process, may not have went to school even that year, but the next year they remembered, oh yeah. And if they didn't contact me because they had been through it, they knew how to do it and they were able to go ahead and do it. So it's good knowledge to have. But I hope we don't have any students that say, I'm just not going to do it, just don't want to do it. But it's very good knowledge to have.
And we're going to do this once a month, all the way till the end of the school year. So once a month, you're going to hear Ms. Rogers and me tell you, fill this application out so that you can get financial aid to further your education beyond this. We will make the video again. One of them is already on our YouTube channel, and you can just log in and upload it and view it, get all of this information plus a whole lot more. And then this video will be on the YouTube channel as well. And please contact Ms. Rogers. She's provided her email as well as her phone number so that she can so that you can reach out to her and contact her, and you guys go on a one-on-one adventure through the FAFSA application.
And it doesn't take long, I promise. If we don't have those other difficulties and you have what you need, once we get, the only complaint I've had with students that are prepared and there's no technical difficulties, they'll say, they just keep asking too many questions. All right, that's real easy, but they keep asking. I say, yep, they do. And so I'm here to help you navigate through, and we go through it really quickly. And they be like, wow, I'm done. You're all done.
Good deal. So I've got a couple of names and numbers for you, Ms. Rogers. I'm going to send those to you so you can reach out to those students. And again, we will be back next month and saying the same thing. So tell your friends, tell your families, tell your students, tell your former students, because this is absolutely vital for you to further your education. Do not leave money on the table. If they are giving it to you, take it and apply to determine even if you're entitled to receive any of it. Don't leave it. Take it. Take it. Maybe you won't use it now, but you'll have the information in. And when it finally hits and clicks, hey, I think I want to do this. It's not just for university. It's not just for community college. There are many trade school programs, Northwestern Tech, Dorsey Schools, Ross Medical. There are many, Michigan College of Beauty. These are all programs that take financial aid. And you can utilize these funds to help offset those tuition expenses, because those particular schools, good programs, but the tuition is kind of pricey for those. Michigan College of Beauty, $17,000, $6,300 from FAFSA can bring that bill down to almost 11,000 and some change. That's a nice discount. And then the next year you apply for it again, and that'll bring that 11,000 down even further. So take advantage of this opportunity. If there aren't any more questions, we will wind this up, and you can reach out to me. I can connect you with Ms. Rogers. You can reach out to Ms. Rogers, and she will connect you with FAFSA and get that application in for you and assist you with it. And we will say good afternoon for the rest of the day then. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us,
Thank you.
and have a great day.
Thank you. Great presentation.
All right.